Okay, cool. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about your priorities for the session?
Sure. Hi, nice to see you, Bobby. So in our committee, we're taking up housing, general housing, for the first time. That's typically has been under the Housing and General Committee, and I'm really excited to think about modernizing that system and how we help the most vulnerable Vermonters and folks who have been houseless, especially the people who have been in the motels and need to be exiting out at the end of the fiscal year. So I'm excited about working on that. We've also been taking extensive testimony on the flavored vapes and the tobacco products. So that's taken up pretty much the majority of the session other than the Budget Adjustment Act. That's what we've been doing since we started, and have heard a lot of really compelling evidence and information and testimony about the harm that the flavored vapes are doing to Vermont's kids, especially as young as middle school and sometimes older elementary schools that are getting addicted, and thinking about the harm reduction and cessation strategies to help kids who are being impacted to quit and get some help. And then personally, I have a bill that I'm working on with Voices for Vermont's Children around child and youth voice and custody and domestic docket in the judiciary. So right now we're one of the few states that rely on judges as well as guardian ad litem to help kids have a voice in proceedings that impact them. And we're trying to find a way and get some studies done on what is best practice and how do we come up with a foundation and a system that will support kids and make sure that their voices are heard in these proceedings. So, you don't have parents pitting the kids against each other, and the kids have the appropriate representation, but also have the opportunity to talk about what their wishes are and what their interests are. So that's kind of top of mind for me. Interested to hear about the governor's budget address to see, where we differ and where we align.
Yeah, so you mentioned the budget adjustment process and the budget address happening today. How are you thinking about the budget and just the sort of economic picture that we're in right now, and how we balance investment with tax burden? How are you thinking about all that?
Yeah, so I'll say that, obviously we've all heard it's probably going to be a tough year tax-wise for Vermonters. But I also think last week, I think the fiscal folks from the administration said that the outlook for the Vermont economy is great. And that's really nice to hear, because what we've been hearing is a lot of doom and gloom and things are really bad. And I personally don't think that that's the way to think about it. I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think we have a strong economy. We have been hearing from the treasurer, Mike Pichuk, that we've had a lot of people moving into Vermont that are high earners and have remote jobs. So they're helping the economy and the tax base in Vermont. So my outlook is, I think, brighter than what the governor might have to say personally. And I do think we'll, as a legislature, we'll have to make some tough decisions. A lot of the federal funding is not going to be available this time around. So it won't be as easy of a budgeting process as it's been the last few years with the federal funding that's been available.
I'm Daisy Berbeco, and I represent Winooski in the House, and I sit on the House Healthcare Committee. This session, I am hoping to expand Medicaid. We have a great bill that Laurie Houghton has sponsored, and I'm co-sponsoring with her. And I'm also hoping that we can address some other mental health initiatives this session. There wasn't enough done last year, I feel, on that. So I have one bill in the House that I'm looking to really get down to community-based mental health. So this is addressing climate resilience and mental health care. It's investing in sort of bringing communities together through third spaces like libraries and senior centers, because I'm concerned that we're really focusing on the investments where we really need them, rightfully, in housing. But we also need to remember to invest in places where we all come together to take care of each other. So in our libraries and senior centers, again, we can't overlook the importance of the healing that happens organically in those spaces together. Another bill that I have is to explore the screening for youth in depression, anxiety, and suicidality. So doing that in a school-based setting is one of the components of that conversation, with the goal being to get upstream in youth-based or school-based mental health for youth. We all know that youth are in a mental health crisis, and the House Health Care Committee has been taking joint testimony with the House Education Committee on that over the past week. So it's a problem that we're all working together to solve.
Thank you, Daisy. And so have you seen the budget that is proposed by the governor yet? No. Okay. Okay. So are you, do you want to talk a little bit about the budget adjustment, and how that process works and what you're working on there?
Yes, so I'm the healthcare liaison to the Appropriations Committee. So our process has been to work collaboratively to consider what the governor's team has proposed. Some of what we saw is unsurprising. There are large amounts of unused funds that they would like to reappropriate from the general fund into the global commitment, where the administration often likes to transfer money to maximize the federal funds, because that money grows once they put it into the global commitment pot.
Can you explain what that is?
So it's a Medicaid program, right? So if we take the general fund dollars, there's a larger return on there's a federal FMAP rate, right? So we get, for every $1 general fund, we get a certain FMAP rate. This year it's, 1.75 or something. So we get greater dollars back on that if we spend it on global commitment projects. So we're closely monitoring the transfer of those dollars, because the dollars this year in one of those funds is things that we have allocated to spend on healthcare workforce initiatives. So my question is, why did we not spend on those initiatives? And now we're maximizing those dollars on something else. So it's often, especially as an incoming legislator, it's often kind of a dance of following that thread and making sure that the appropriation goes on what the original legislative intent was. I'm all for maximizing our dollars, so it's also a balancing act of learning and being collaborative with the administration on that.
So my name is Laurie Foster, and I'm a certified nurse midwife. I've been a Vermont midwife for over 40 years, and I have worked in all settings in my career. I've attended home births, worked in a community hospital, worked in birth centers, and in a tertiary care center. And I'm here to advocate for licensing of freestanding birth centers in Vermont. Vermont is one of only 9 states in the country that does not have birth centers, and it's a really safe model that does achieve what we call the triple aim. So the triple aim is good outcomes, patient satisfaction, and reduced costs. So it's incredibly cost effective, and the outcomes are better than for low-risk people birthing in the hospital. So lower cesarean rates, lower preterm birth rates, higher breastfeeding rates. So there's lots and lots of benefits of birth centers, and we believe Vermonters deserve that option. And, in a state that is, we could say relatively progressive around healthcare, it's really rather surprising that we don't have this option. So we've been working now on this go-around for 4 years, but there's been attempts to license birth centers in Vermont since 1980s.
So what's the role of the legislature or the state of Vermont in moving forward your goal of establishing birth centers in Vermont?
Right. So the role would be to pass a licensing bill. So we have a bill introduced, House 80 is the number of the bill, and that would license the birth centers. And licensing would assure, the quality and the safety of the birth center, and it would also assure that reimbursement for the services provided would happen through third-party insurance companies and Medicaid. So that's the purpose, to make them a viable option.
How can people learn more about what you're working on and more about your efforts?
Yeah, well, our coalition, the Vermont Birth Center Coalition, has a website. We have a video that I think is really kind of great. It's very informative. It's like 4 or 5 minutes long. You can learn a lot in 4 or 5 minutes. So, if that's something, people are interested in, that's a good way to do it, yeah.